Let them fix fuel and loin. That's the reason why I'm bringing what happened? We are hungry.
It is just an excuse to ensure that they crush the democratic rights of Nigerians. And we will not allow that. Long struggle for democracy in Nigeria will not be lost because one person wants to consolidate their power.
Okay, Ibukun Oluwa, right now we have the person who released the long list of demands on the planned protest is now with us. Joining us via Zoom, Omoyele Sowore. Hello, Sowore.
How are you? Good morning, and it's nice to be on your show. I mean, it's afternoon now, yes. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. Yes, very quickly, I've gone through your list of demands and find out that some of what you are actually rooting for, they really sound outrageous at the moment. You know, one of which is the returning to the fuel subsidy regime, scrapping of the Senate, immediate scrapping of the 1999 Constitution, amongst others. So, do you really want these demands, or you just want to go on protests?
No, we want the demands, and these are just minimum irreducible demands. Nigerians should actually have 64 demands, one demand per year since we got independence. But we don't want to make them too bogus. That's why we want these foundational solutions to Nigeria's problem. And one of them is to replace the 1999 Constitution, because that Constitution is one of the sources of our problems. Let the people come together and design their own Constitution, just like the way Americans came together and wrote their own Constitution and then improved upon it. You cannot impose a military design Constitution on people and start amending it. It's like building on nothing. So it's as simple as that. Asking to change the Senate is to reduce waste. There's nothing the senators are doing for Nigerians. They have gone on a 7 weeks break now, left the country. They are mostly contractors and extortionists. Let's just have a part-time legislative system, unicameral legislative system. People come and make laws, they go back home, they will have other jobs instead of making it a full-time job and a burden on the finances of the country. Pay Nigerian workers 250,000 Naira minimum wage. I don't need to tell you, this week, since we started talking about the protests, they called the labor leaders and approved 70,000. Who is celebrating, except the labor leaders themselves, who were doing bosa shamefully at the Aso Rock Villa. It didn't solve the problem because 70,000 Naira is not going to buy you a bag of rice. So these are very, very reasonable demands. They're not outrageous at all. There's nothing outrageous about this demand. Asking you to clean up your electoral system by purging the INEC of people who are corrupt and who are useless, it's not outrageous. Removing the chairman of INEC who conducted some of the worst elections, is that outrageous? Asking them to remove people who are partisan relationship and put very neutral and independent and credible people to conduct elections, is that outrageous?
Okay. Well, the government's response to this is that government's response to this will be that they're already working on most of these demands that you have made. And the result will be felt in, of course, the mid to long term. It's not something that's going to happen immediately. Now, you're even talking about immediately scrapping the Senate and removing the 1999 Constitution. Of course, we had a confab which took months, So how realistic, how feasible do you think this is going to be?
We are not asking for a confab. Confab is usually the gathering of people that are friends of those in power. You know that whenever they want to have a confab, they ask you to elect someone and then they choose majority. We are talking about a sovereign confab, where the decision of that conference will not be subject to the whims and caprices of those in power. The only people who can ratify the content of this sovereign conference are the people through a referendum. That is the basic ways constitutions are made. Why are we making this sound complicated? And we can do that in a very short time. When South Africa ended apartheid, they had an interim constitution, and we can still use the 1999 constitution as an interim constitution. And then they went and made a constitution that defined the new relationship. As I said earlier today on the radio show, it's just like you get married to somebody. And then the person discovers that, look, this marriage doesn't have any solidity in it. He says, let's go and do a traditional marriage. Let's say our family. We finish seeing our family. The family said, this is our culture, this is our tradition. And then you leave the place and they say, can we get a court document? You go to a registry and you get a document that shows that you are legitimately married. And so that, it becomes a legal marriage. And then you can go to church and celebrate it. That's the referendum, in my view.
We see that protests in Nigeria have always been hijacked by hoodlums, which turns out
hijacked by who?
Why do you still insist
it's not true.
on going?
It's not true.
No, it is true. We've seen several. We've even seen when you were arrested and tear gassed, locked up with some of your friends or your cronies. But then you see that most times violence is always the major issue whenever protest. It's been hijacked by hoodlums. So why do you still embark on this? Why do you always still go on this kind of protest, knowing the outcome of it?
Except with due respect, you are referring to those in government as hoodlums. Then I'll agree with you. Because they're the ones who hijack peaceful protests.
Well, I've never seen a government official coming to join a protest or coming to get violent when these things are happening.
Have you never seen a police officer attacking protesters? Are they not government officials?
When they go violent, isn't it?
No. Are you telling me that those who are at Lekki Tollgate were violent when the soldiers came, they were singing national anthem, waving
Okay. Let's move on.
So tell us.
Sure, please.
We can't just move on from these narratives because we are now on the cusp of a revolutionary period.
Okay, let's move on. Tell us, who are those faceless individuals sponsoring these protests?
Nobody is faceless.
Okay, could you share with us some of those sponsoring you?
Yes. Hunger, poverty, corruption, insecurity, unemployment. They are the ones sponsoring us. How about that?
Well, when I say sponsor, I mean bankrolling in monetary terms.
Nobody is bankrolling anybody. Everybody is contributing the little they have to make this protest a reality. That's what we are doing.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Omoyele Sowore.
If anybody was bankrolling anybody, the government would have put out the account statements. So don't let them deceive you. Nobody is bankrolling anybody.
All right, thank you very much for your intervention.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so Omole Ibukunoluwa, the leftist group. So tell us, are you still embarking on this protest?
Yes, the protest, date has been fixed by majority of Nigerians via social media. And so the protest is going to be happening starting from August 1. And the protest has been fixed by majority.
Nigeria, they use computer. The leaders of Nigeria, they use radio where they turn the knob.